Hello everyone, welcome to a new video on martial politics. Today I'll be discussing an interesting piece of legislation that was proposed by Missouri Senator Josh Hawley, who I'm sure you all have heard of. He's more of like one of those more like populist leaning kind of people in the Senate, and he's had some really good rhetoric in terms of the current capitalist system, and you know how our current system basically doesn't favor American families, only favors their own special interests, things that benefit them. So here, this is from Axios exclusive. Hawley unveils trust-busting plan. So he basically unleashed this plan, this bill called the Trust Busting for the 21st Century Act. So it says here it would ban mergers and acquisitions by firms with a market cap of over 100 billion, lower the threshold for prosecution under existing federal antitrust laws, replacing the prevalent consumer harm standard with one that emphasizes the protection of competition, require companies that lose federal antitrust lawsuits to forfeit all profits resulting from monopolistic conduct. Also gives the FCC new power to designate and regulate dominant digital firms in different online markets. So that's like more that deals with like big tech and Twitter, Facebook, etc. So obviously heard, you've seen many attack like these some of these attacks from like maybe like left wing progressives or whatever. The neoliberals tend to like just call him like a seditionist or whatever because of that picture in 36. I'm sure all of you have seen it. What he did on that day and how it's interpreted by the neoliberals. For the progressives, he's viewed as like a populist fraud. Like he doesn't like follow through on anything he supports, which to extent is true, I'd say. But I'd say like more recently, I'd say he's been getting a lot better that way. So basically, he basically talks about like how trust busting was a Republican concept originally under progressive era GOP president Theodore Roosevelt. Yeah, he's absolutely correct in that way. Theodore Roosevelt, he was very aggressive in terms of litigation against corporations and railroad companies specifically. So there's this, there's a Supreme Court case. Theodore Roosevelt's Attorney General Philander Knox, I believe his name was. He basically the case was against I believe the Union Pacific railroad line. And they were acquiring like smaller railways, incorporating into some larger railway, which like across state lines as well. So Theodore Roosevelt did a lot of reforms, so they strengthened the Interstate Commerce Commission, and obviously these litigations as well. So yeah, I'd say that's exactly the correct step we need to go toward in terms of people in the Republican Party, what like policy direction we need to go to. Like what are we actually going to do to to actually change society efficiently and to implement our vision for the United States, and not letting the neoliberals get away with all this. So yes, this is definitely a very good direction for the Republican Party. Also, there's increased stuff. There's some like more information here, stuff from CBS News. So nearly 150 companies, including large corporations like Apple and Amazon, those others like Pfizer, Nike, Costco, and McDonald's, they have a market cap of over 100 billion. All of them would be impacted by Hawley's bill and prohibited from merging with or acquiring smaller competitors. So, Hawley pointed out that more than 100 corporations virtually met Saturday to signal their organized opposition to restrictive voting laws being passed across the country as an example of corporate overreach. Yeah, and he's correct because Tucker Carlson, he's been talking a lot about like election stuff recently, like with terms of like demographic changes as well. I'll actually make a video about that very soon. Um, but yeah, he's basically arguing that corporate like this is actually a really good like way to attract like the more reluctant people who don't want to use the state power to, act against corporations. So basically, his argument is that these people, they don't they don't fit our like conservative ideals, and like why should we be protecting them? I mean, that's 100% true. Uh, I'm For me, it's because of that and other reasons, because I see corporate power is tyrannical in nature. Uh, Basically, in nature completely. I don't even, no matter the context. Um, but yeah, that's an efficient way to like get like the boomer conservatives to support stuff like this, and it's really useful because it really pushes the party overall uh, to the direction of actually taking direct economic action rather than supporting the economic status quo, which again only benefits the ruling class in our country. We're the only people who are prosperous currently. They don't run out of money. They're making continuous profit day after day while the rest of the country suffers. So yeah, this is, I'd say, overall this is a very effective bill. He also went on Tucker Carlson's show. You guys can watch the entire clip if you want. He basically just talked about, he basically just talked about his bill and how corporations are basically taking an active role in politics. Their power needs to be limited. Tucker Carlson was like more of like he also kind of supports stuff like this. He's kind of more like, I guess, left wing, you could say, on economic issues while being right wing on social issues. Uh, that's syncretic. That's the word I'm looking for. Syncretic in a way. So yeah, very effective bill, I'd say, and rhetoric, and very good rhetoric as well. And I think really every day Tucker Carlson is a great service to the new, I guess, new actual right wing populist movement. Like the new right, I guess people call them. People like that who basically, which a lot talk about economic issues, which is what I do on this channel. So it's a really useful way in pushing people towards this direction. And I think, overall, I think that people like Tucker Carlson and Josh Hawley, they need to be, promoted to the population of the actual voters, because the current Republican establishment does not care for its voters. I mean, like, the Republican Party's made immense gains with working class individuals, but it's not reflected in like actual policy. So what we've seen recently is really just like you've seen a lot of like working class voters, like you saw in Ohio. Trump won union households, and I think in Pennsylvania, I think it was very close, but Trump did very well. I think he might have won Pennsylvania union households. I think it might have been like really close, but you get my point. We have a lot of vote of working class voters who are voting for the Republican Party now because they think that they're standing up for them, but you know that's not reflected in the actual policy that the Republican Party is pushing for. So we need to reflect, like what do American voters, people who are voting for the Republican Party, what do they want currently? And you see this in poll after poll. I even saw a poll uh, for Republicans wanting an increased minimum wage up to, I think it was a $15 minimum wage. So I mean, the voter base supports things like this, but we see again the politicians, they don't fulfill what the voters actually want. So in turn, we need to promote uh, politicians and people who will actually push for legislation that reflects the will of the American voters and our vision, for a greater country. And that starts with, attacking the economic establishment, the political establishment, all the people who prosper as a result of the current broken system that only benefits corporations, special interests. And again, we live in a country where the middle class is essentially dying. We need to dramatically change that, and I think that we support more people like Josh Hawley, people even better than Josh Hawley, that could actually, be effective in that way and get legislation enacted that would, um, fight for the interests of the people rather than corporations and the establishment. And that's really the direction the Republican Party needs to go overall. And don't, and again, this I'm gonna start concluding my video here, but don't fall for the people who claim like, oh, I'm a populist and whatever, but they end up supporting the same terrible fiscal con policies that don't benefit, actual people. It literally only benefits corporate entities and only select individuals. It doesn't benefit the entire It doesn't benefit entire population. Trickle down economics doesn't work. So, don't listen to these people who they call themselves populists, but their policies and even their rhetoric doesn't even reflect that. Um, like even with rhetoric, I don't know how you can even mess that up, but you have people who call themselves populists, but like their rhetoric, it's just like partisan garbage. It sounds like stuff like Sean Hannity says or something. Like you're not a populist if you're saying things like Sean Hannity's a corporate shill, like what he says. Um, so yeah, overall, Josh Hawley, very good piece of legislation. Unfortunately, with the legislation, there's like 0% chance this bill will ever get passed. So it even says here, what to watch. Hawley's ideas might win some support from other populist Republicans, but the broader party would need a sea change in thinking to embrace it. Democrats, meanwhile, are likely to prefer their own bills. And even if by some crazy miracle, it gets passed in the House and Senate, which again, like 0% chance, it's basically dead on Biden's desk. Like, why would Biden would never sign a bill like this at all? But again, overall, yeah, Josh Hawley, very good piece of legislation. Also very good like tying it with other issues. Actually fighting for actual right wing positions, like fighting for the people of this country, and that's what we need. America first doesn't mean corporations first and special interests first. It means the actual people of America first before all else. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. Of course, like and subscribe for more. If you have any questions or comments or whatever you want to give, uh, you're free to do so in the comments below. I will also link my Twitter. You can follow me on there if you want. Uh, but overall, but concluding, uh, have an excellent day, and I will see you all in the next video. And farewell.